各位，当人们反复提到百年一遇的世界变局的时候，真正的问题并不是变化是否存在，而是有没有国家看懂了变化正在发生在哪里。在印度学者普拉文索尼看来，世界的重心已经发生了不可逆的转移。随着中国的崛起，全球地缘政治不会再围绕着跨大西洋展开，而是整体向亚太地区移动。今天，所有主要的大国战略关注点都集中在这里，因为这里同时聚集了经济的增长、政治的竞争和安全的博弈。而今天的情况完全不一样，三大力量都在向亚洲聚焦，全球南方正在寻找一种新的治理叙事，而这一种叙事并不是以权力平衡为核心，而是围绕着贸易、发展、互相尊重和不可分割的安全展开。他强调在联合国框架内运行，强调国家的战略自主权，而不是零和的博弈。这正是印度理论上最适合的位置，然而事实却出现了偏差。印度的外交政策依然高度依赖一个距离超过1万公里的国家，而对于近在身边、同样拥有战略需求的力量保持着犹豫。这并不是简单的战略选择，而是一种深层次的结构问题。其中一部分的原因来自于心态，长期的殖民记忆让印度精英阶层更容易向白人世界靠拢，却对亚洲邻国建立平等合作关系心存不安。而另外一部分原因来自于利益结构，大量印度精英的资本、家庭和未来都绑定在西方的市场，服务型经济尤其是 IT 产业对于美国的依赖极深。但问题在于，这一种路径并不能解决印度最现实的挑战。一个依然拥有数亿贫困人口的国家，真正需要的不是地缘政治的姿态，而是发展的能力。外交政策如果不能转化为就业、基础设施和教育投入，那就只是一种表演。而中国的经验恰恰提供了一个对照，改革开放并不是一场理想主义的实验，而是一种高度务实的选择。允许资本进入，学习技术，吸收经验，最终建立起自己的制造和创新的体系。这并不是被欺骗，而是系统性学习的结果。今天中国已经成为全球绿色技术和大型工业体系的重要创新者。这并不是一个偶然，而是长期规划和教育投入的结果。从工程师数量到产业配套，再到国家层面的5年规划，发展被当作是一项持续工程来对待。而相比之下，印度更欠缺的是方向感。人才并不稀缺，勤奋也不是问题，而真正缺失的是长期规划的能力。在没有清晰的产业路径，没有稳定的教育投入，再多的口号也无法转化为现实。而世界已经进入了多极时代，但多极并不意味着简单的权力平衡。新的全球治理逻辑核心在于贸易与发展，在于每一个国家拥有选择合作对象的权利，而这一种战略自主权才是全球南方真正争取的地方。而印度本应是这一体系的重要一极，却仍然在旧有的思维中徘徊。当世界的结构已经改变，而认知仍停留在过去，那错失的窗口就不再是偶然，而是必然。因为百年一遇的变局不会等待犹豫者。问题不在于世界是否需要印度，而是在于印度是否准备好成为他自己。让我们看一下视频。
So I'll try and be brief and tell you that today the world is undergoing what is called a once in a century change. It's a very big thing. And I'll just tell you three things of the many that are happening, which are straight there and we need to understand them. The first one is, with the rise of China, the global geopolitics has shifted from transatlantic to Asia Pacific region, which is our region. Now, what that means is, when I say shifted, it means that this is the place now, Asia Pacific, where all the great powers of the world, which are three, There are three today great powers in the world, which is America, China, and Russia. They all have their interests now in Asia Pacific because this is the place of intense economic activity and intense political competition. It has become because of the economic activity and the rise of China and the rise of other nations also. It is not China alone, but China's rise has been spectacular as compared to India's rise. You see, so that is one factor that today we have a great opportunity in foreign policy which we never had. And what is that opportunity? All this while, since independence, India was on the fringes of geopolitics because the geopolitics was this transatlantic. It was happening there, and therefore, when the Cold War was there, there were two great powers. There was the Soviet Union and there was America. So we decided, all right, we'll hitch ourselves with the Soviet Union. But we were on the fringes because the actual things were happening there in that theater. So today we have that advantage. If all the three great powers want India, shouldn't India be thinking what is better for us today? And how do you assess what is better for us? By actually seeing how are the poor of India helped. We are a poor country. By Prime Minister's own admission, 80 crore of Indians, which is 800 million people, they are below the poverty line, they get dole money. So we have that opportunity and we are not making use of it. And what is the opportunity? The opportunity is in this, global south that we talk about. It is the global south which is gravitating towards a new form of governance. That was the second point I wanted to make. That the the geopolitics has come to our region. The second is that today you have two narratives which are entirely different. And this is something that India should take notice of. And what are those narratives? One is the earlier narrative of the Americans, which is about balance of power politics. I won't go in the detail, which is what we have seen in the Cold War, we have seen in the unipolar world. But there's another narrative, which is what I call a new global governance system, which is about trade, which is about equality, which is about mutual respect, which is about indivisible security, which is about working under the United Nations, and where there are two great powers, China and Russia, supporting it. We are a global South nation. So when our foreign minister Jay Shankar says that I can both be in BRICS and I can be in Quad at the same time, well, it won't work for very long. But I won't go in the details unless you want me to go. The point I'm making is, why are you having a foreign policy totally hitched to a country, a great power, which is 12,000 kilometers away, when in the changed global geopolitics, you have two great powers. They are there with you in the global south. Why can't you consider more seriously having your strategic needs and your military needs from Russia and your non strategic needs from China? So, there are a couple of reasons for that. One is the mindset, very big reason. And this is not to be underplayed. And what by mindset is meant is that we have that colonial mindset that we are happy to be subordinate to a white man. It's a mindset which will not go away in a hurry. But we are not willing to be partner with a brown Chinese. That's one. Second is that over the years, our top elite have invested a lot in America. Their personal investments are there in America and the West. So they have their personal interests there. The third reason is we say that today we are a 4 trillion economy, which is about 3.8 trillion economy. But this is a services based economy. And when you look at the services based economy, you realize that a big chunk of that is the IT sector. And of that IT sector, the dependence on America is massive. So there'll be a problem for them also. And our economy will take a major knock. So, but the point is, some hard decisions have to be taken. And what is the reason why you should take the hard decisions? Because A government with a vision, when it looks ahead, realizes the opportunity of once in a century change happening, then you are working for the posterity. You are working for your next generation. I'll give you one example. In China, Deng Xiaoping was the leader who opened the economy to the West. When he made that famous statement, it doesn't matter whether a cat is black or it is white, so long as it catches mice. Now, what that meant was, I'm happy for the capitalists to come to my country. But the people in China, the businessmen, they were very apprehensive. And what was the apprehension? The same apprehension that today we have. Our top people have, the industrialists have, so many of them. And that is that they will come and they'll take over everything. So, you see, the point is that what happened in the case of China, the Chinese, because they had to accept what Deng Xiaoping said, but they were willing to work hard. They worked very hard. They learned the ropes. So when the Americans say that they cheated us, Americans are wrong. Your capitalists cheated you. You hollowed out your manufacturing and gave it to the cheap labor of the Chinese. The Chinese learned there. The Chinese learned, and today they are the innovators. They are innovating, they are leading the world in green technology, and they are very much in big technology neck to neck with America. So Indians can do a lot, and mind you, India has a lot of talent. I have seen that. I have met a lot of people. What is required is a government with a vision, a government which is not projectionist. Projectionism basically means that we have a diaspora also abroad. The biggest Indian diaspora is in America. So one of the things what happens is when our top leaders go to America, besides the official engagement, they engage with the diaspora because a message is being sent home that look, the leader is popular in the world. But this is what I call projectionist foreign policy. Foreign policy has to be which avails this opportunity, and I'm being very brief. It's a very expansive subject that you asked me, but in brief, it is that there is today a new global governance system. And let me tell you, even our diplomats do not understand what this is. And this is my big worry that there is an opportunity and we are missing on this opportunity. In fact, I go to the extent of saying that when you have these China institutes here and so much of money is being put in the think tanks, focus on this area. Try and understand China, understand China's culture. China is 1.4 billion, the same population as ours. How is it that they could do a miracle? Why can't we do it? We have people who are good. We are people who are, we have hardworking youngsters. See, the biggest reason is education. One of the things that Deng Xiaoping in China, I come back to China because we can learn a lot from China. One of the things that he did was put a lot of attention on education. And today, China has perhaps the best education system right from bottom till top. They produce more engineers, they have more STEM graduates, even than America. And they are doing innovation today. They have so many people. And in fact, the people who are winning in America are also Chinese Americans, so many of them. They are winning there. So, first thing is education. The government has to provide those facilities. You have to pump in money there. And education means you need education which is meaningful. I'm not saying don't go in creative arts, do that also, because that is also required. But everything should be meaningful. Now, if you want to change your history books, if you want to change things, well, it doesn't take you much anywhere. That's my point. Sorry. We are missing a great opportunity. This is what I keep saying, that when people say that we are a civilizational state, actually, we aren't. China is a civilizational state, Russia is a civilizational state, America is a nation state, and we aren't. Why? Because we are a mix of so many civilizations. Now, if we are trying to banish the Mughal empire period from the history of India, then obviously we are looking at our Vedic roots, which are good. I'm not denying that. But my point is what India is today, what I am today. is a sum total of what all we have. There is a culture that we have. That culture has brought us to this position. We are not making use of the political factor in our foreign policy. That's one part which should help our poor. That's one. Second part is, won't we be more proud? Aren't we proud when our Indians do well outside? Why can't they do well inside our own country? Why? The reason is that we need infrastructure, we need education, we need so many things in our country. We need more than anything else a vision for the country, a planning. I mean, the Chinese are doing a comeback to Chinese because they are 1.4 billion like us. So much to learn from them. Why can't we learn? So, my point is that they have their 5 year plans. I'll just give you one example. The 14th 5 year plan finishes now in 2025 and now 2026. They will have their 15th 5 year plan till 2030. My point is that what they had set out to accomplish in the 14th plan, 80% of that they have accomplished it. Why? Because they got the actual experts to make the plan. They got the people who knew what are our capabilities, what is doable, what we should do. It's not something, you just say that, all right, by the, 100 years of independence, there'll be Viksit Bharat, there'll be a developed India. Where will this developed India come from? I don't understand. I have not heard a single Chinese say that China is developed. They keep hopping, we are a developing company, we are a developing country. So my point is, we don't have to make idle boasts. The world will notice that what we are. And all I'm saying is we have the talent. We have, like the Chinese in our culture, it is our culture that we tell our young boys and our young girls, study hard. So we are industrious people, you see. But we need the direction, we need the planning, we need a vision from the government. That is my point. And for development, you need peace. And for peace, you need military power, a deterrence, what is called a military deterrence. So, as I said, in the non strategic sectors, which is like infrastructure building, which is like manufacturing, the Chinese are willing to help us. In the strategic sectors, like defense, like energy, like power, like artificial intelligence, like all the big technologies, the Russians are willing to help us and they can help us a lot. So, the point to make is that if our nation has to develop, if the benefits have to go to the common person, they need jobs, they need education, they need infrastructure, they need peace. And this is where foreign policy comes in. It has a very important role, it has a critical role to play. But you have a point. And I'll tell you your point now. I'll explain that also, what you said, that it used to be a elitist thing. That is what you are saying. It was elitist when India was on the fringe of global geopolitics. Because at that time it was about that I need Soviet Union to make my case on Kashmir at the United Nations. See, so that is the elitist thing. But today it has changed. This is what I'm saying, the once in a century change. So we are in that position today that instead of one superpower, one global hegemon, America, today there are three great powers. And the two great powers want us. They want us in BRICS wholeheartedly. They want us in SEO wholeheartedly. But our mind and our brains, when I say our, I am talking of the government. They are with the West in America. See, the problem, what has happened is, as I said, the world changed in 2012. And how the world changed, that also your viewers should know. Because of the rise of China, President Obama ordered what is called the pivot to Asia. What that meant was that 60% of the US military will now be shifted to the Western Pacific to contain the rise of China. You see? So the world changed. Which is why, because the economic activity is happening here, the Westerners here, and we are in the middle of it. We are sitting right here in the Indian Ocean region. So for us, the opportunity was, okay, If today there are three great powers instead of one, and the two other great powers have an entirely different philosophy, the world that they are creating, why can't we partner with them? Why can't we cooperate with them? But the problem is that Modi government came to power in 2014 May. At least for so many years, and even today, people in this country are oblivious that there is something called a new global governance system. And I'll give you an example why I'm saying that. We have heard the External Affairs Minister make two statements. He talks of, and repeatedly he has said this, a multipolar Asia is necessary for a multipolar world. In other words, what he's saying is that we are also, India is a pole, it is a power center in the multipolar world, just like China is. But in the new global governance system, the concept is entirely different. What is the concept? The concept is that it's of trade, it's of development, which is what the Chinese are doing through the Belt and Road initiatives, and the Russians are on board. The thinking of the Chinese, they have aligned vision. So the concept is of trade. Now, if you have to do trade, it is common sense that trade requires that each nation should be free to decide with which it wants to do trade, with which country does not want to do trade. That is strategic autonomy. In other words, in this thinking, there are today 193 countries under the United Nations. They all must have strategic autonomy. So when Jaishankar talks of multipolar Asia, you are talking of balance of power politics. You are talking of a zero-sum game. Because your thinking is the colonial thinking. So we have to change that.